Welcome to The Explainer. So, what does it really take to build a global franchise from the ground up? Today, we're going to dig into a super ambitious attempt to do exactly that, with a project that wants to be India's first global sci-fi superhero, Robojit and the Sand Planet.
Okay, so check this out. The official press release for this whole thing kicks off with this incredibly bold statement. This isn't just a goal, right? It's them throwing down the gauntlet, saying they're ready to compete on the world stage.
I mean, that is a huge claim. So you've got to ask, what is this franchise? And maybe even more important, how in the world are they planning to pull it off? Let's get into it and unpack the story and the strategy behind this massive ambition. All right, so first up, a new global franchise. Right out of the gate, you can see this project isn't just about telling a story. No, it's strategically squaring up against some of the absolute biggest names in entertainment history. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Look at how they're explicitly framing Robojit's ambitions. They're not just saying, hey, we've got a cool sci-fi story. They're literally drawing lines between their themes and these global blockbusters. You see the spiritual side of Avatar? They're aiming for that. The epic hero's journey in Star Wars? Yep, that too. This is all about signaling scale. They're playing in the big leagues.
Okay, so that's the big picture ambition. But what's the actual story holding all this up? Let's get inside the Sand Planet and see what it's all about. So at its heart, it's a classic adventure. You've got a young prince, his loyal sidekick, and this awesome humanoid warrior named Robojit, and they're on a quest to take down a galactic bad guy. It's all set against this backdrop of huge deserts and mysterious realms. It's designed to feel both totally epic, but also kind of familiar, you know?
And this really gets to the core of it. The story is built on these big universal themes, right? Courage, loyalty, sacrifice, stuff we can all get behind. By grounding all the cool sci-fi stuff in these ideas, they're clearly going for a huge international family audience. The goal is for anyone, anywhere to connect with these characters. So, who's the mastermind behind all this? It turns out this whole massive project comes from a single creator, a writer and media entrepreneur named Rakesh Raman. And get this, he's been working on this universe for more than a decade. And during that time, it wasn't just Robojit he was focused on. He's actually written a bunch of books for young adults, and he has this thing for using stories to break down really complex topics for kids. You can see this pattern, right? His Tech Tales series even got featured in a major international journal. So this background in educational storytelling, it really shows you his whole approach, making big ideas easy to get, and now he's bringing that same energy to his work on AI, and most importantly, to building out the rich, detailed world of Robojit. Which brings us perfectly to the project's history, because this thing is so far from an overnight idea. The journey to get here has been a long one. We're talking over a decade in the making. Just look at this timeline. The journey kicked off way back in 2009. And that Reuters profile is super cool. It talks about his early experiments with something called Twitchin. Yep, fiction on Twitter. That basically puts him on the map as an innovator in digital storytelling long before this big global push we're seeing now. Okay, so here's the million-dollar question, right? How do you take a creative project that's been cooking for over 10 years and actually turn it into a successful global franchise? Well, the answer is all in the business plan, the Transmedia blueprint. And the core of that strategy is this one key idea, Transmedia. Now, don't just think book-to-movie adaptation. This is way bigger. It's about building a whole universe. So the movie tells one piece of the story, maybe a video game lets you explore a different part, and then a streaming show dives deep into a character's origin. But it's all part of one single massive story. And this isn't just some vague idea either. The project is being pitched to studios and investors as a totally complete, ready-to-go package. We're talking a finished novel, a feature-length screenplay, concept art, all the heavy lifting, the foundational stuff, it's already done. And this is literally their go-to-market strategy, the step-by-step playbook. It's a super deliberate plan to get global partners and money on board. You know, you start by getting seen on industry platforms, then you create all your pitch materials, and then you start targeting the big fish, film studios, streaming services, game developers, the whole shebang. So will Robojit take off? Let's recap what we've got. We have a seriously ambitious vision, right? A story built on themes anyone can relate to, more than 10 years of development behind it, and a crystal clear strategy for taking it global. So what does it really take for an independent story to blow up and become a global phenomenon? The Robojit project is basically one creator's massive, all-in attempt to answer that exact question. I mean, think about it, building out the entire universe before even looking for partners? That's a huge bet on a single vision. And now, as it finally steps onto the world stage, we all get to watch and wonder, what's next for India's hopeful first global sci-fi superhero?